We move on to the Brown Advisory then. As I say, Thunder Rock lines up here for Ollie Murphy. You can hear his thoughts on that tomorrow morning. Matt, you tell us the stat here. I guess it really relates to Tyler Hill mainly in the race, who no one's putting up. And then you can come in with who you like and why.
Yeah, so since Young Hustler won 30 years ago, all 90 runners that had 2 or more full seasons over hurdles have been beaten. Every horse needs treating individually, but as a staying chaser, you want to get over fences as quickly as possible, not putting miles in their legs slogging around in 3-mile graded conditions hurdles. So that's very much against Time Hill. Whilst I like Jerry Colombe, I'm just a bit worried about the ground for him from an anti-post perspective. Providing there's cut, I can see myself backing him on the day. But at the moment, I'm interested in the Real Whacker. I thought he was really good in the Dipper, which is a good trial for this. He won over course and distance in November. His bold, jumping, front-running style, he looked an absolute natural, improved a heck of a lot so far over fences. And yeah, he is in the Gold Cup, and I know the trainer's still talking about it. I can't believe off just 2 novice chases they're going to do that. So I'm fairly sure he's going to turn up here. I think this is going to cut up quite badly. And so I still think that he could shorten a fair bit. So he's the anti-post bet. And then I'll assess on the day about whether I bet Jerry Colombe as well, even at a short price, because the ground's in his favour.
An absolute scenes as Toombs and Mulrennan agree, Adele.
God. It was a race that I was kind of like, I kind of was struggling to kind of really commit to one. And Patrick Neville is a bit of a character, and he does really well, like with what he's got. He can train this guy. And he's always fought a lot of the Real Whacker. And as Matt's already said, you know, the Dipper has always been kind of like a good pointer for this race. So listen, he is like, he gallops and he jumps, like he's brave as well. So, you know, if you're going to put your money on something at Cheltenham, you want to be putting it on a horse who won't go down without a fight, and he's a horse that certainly won't. So that's why I've got him inside for that race, in a race that was a little bit, I couldn't you know, like find a really, really strong one. So I just thought he is like, I know what I'm getting with him. You know, you're going to get a run for your money.
Liam says Matt's worried about the ground for Jerry. Has he seen the weather forecast? But he has made that point, Liam, that anti-post wise, you wouldn't back in now because you just want to know what the ground is going to be like. Charlie, where would you be with the ground for your selection? Do you think he has to have genuinely soft ground?
Well, I suppose if you're listening to connections, there's that possibility. But I'd have thought the ground is, well, at the very least, it's going to be good to soft, and for that reason, I think he'll definitely be there. I was trying to take him on at Sandown. It was a big mistake. I think he's a gorgeous, gorgeous horse. I actually think Balco Coastal, who he beat at Sandown, could run a big race in the Turners if that's where he's going to end up. I think he's also the big engine as well, and he beat him readily. I think the likes of the Real Whacker in here going a good gallop will only help him. He seems to switch off. He jumps nicely enough, and he just looks to have the world at his feet, Tom. You know, I think this horse that could be coming back for a Gold Cup next year.
Donn first, then Deasy. You can come in one after each other.
Yeah, I agree with Charlie completely. Jerry Colombe, I was against him at Sandown as well. I thought the combination of 2.5 miles Sandown and good to soft ground, it just wasn't a stiff enough test for him. And it did look like Balco Coastal was travelling better over the pond fence and around the home turn. But he's just so gritty. He just dug deep and won well in the end. And Gordon Elliott says he doesn't do much at home. A totally different horse to Mighty Potter. And he's never been beaten. Bumpers, hurdles, fences, he's never been beaten. The step up and trip to 3 miles should be a positive for him. He won over 2 miles 7 over hurdles on yielding ground at Thurles back in January last year. So I think he obviously he handles a bit of cut. He's good on easy ground, but the step up and trip, I think, should compensate for the fact that he's going to probably or possibly face faster ground than he has been doing in Ireland. But I thought at Sandown the last day, he answered a few more questions. We learned more about him at Sandown because Sandown, it's not as stiff a track as Cheltenham, obviously, over 2.5 miles on good to soft ground. He showed pace enough to be able to win a Grade 1 race to Scilly Isles Chase under those conditions. So, yeah, look, he's a potential Gold Cup horse as well next year, please God, as Mighty Potter is. I'd just be interested to see what they do with Gaillard de Menil and Ramillies, because it looks, you know, they're kind of both shaping up for the National Hunt Chase, but it wouldn't be surprising if, given they're owned by Marie Donnelly and trained by Willie Mullins, that one of them might run here. It looks like Gary O'Neill has had the National Hunt Chase on his radar for a while, so Ramillies might run here, and I could see him running well at a bit of a price if he does. But no, Jerry Calhoun, I think he's the most likely winner by a fair way.
Go on then, Dees.
Yeah, look, just on the real whacker, he's visually very impressive. He goes off out in front and he jumps and like, visually very impressive. But if you dig into it, he beat Indigo Breeze there for he's a Gordon Elliott horse. Like, he's rated 135 now, and he beat him by 3/4 of a length. And Indigo Breeze gave him a fright. I mean, he wouldn't be able to work with Jory Clam when Jory Clam was hungover. And the same the last day, he over 2.5 miles in the Dipper. He beat Man Morale by 3.25 lengths. Jory Clam beat him by 24 lengths at Sandown, going up that hill. So I can't have the real whacker, and I think Jory Clam is the real deal. Basically, I think he's absolutely class, and he'd probably go off very close to even money or odds on in the day.
Nick Palfrey, I think, agrees with you. Next year, the real whacker will be in the Ultima. He still might be in the Gold Cup this year. Never know. Unlikely.